Hey, before we hop into this episode, let's talk about why your website and digital presence isn't working. Now, I know what you're thinking. Michael, we talk all about the websites all the time. You talk about the websites. The website's a hammer, yada, yada, yada. We get it. But for real, though, it's shocking to me how much guesswork still takes place and how it's having a detrimental effect on what opportunities you are able to leverage. Now, over the last decade, especially for the OG DPBers, you know I've poured my soul into assembling a team that cares deeply about the progress of the retail auto industry, that believes in my mission to enrich and empower dealers to perpetually grow. Now I'm making my amazing marketing team accessible to the Dealer Playbook community so that you can start to thrive rather than merely survive. Right now, we're providing a just for you free website diagnostic that will show you exactly what you need to do in a priority sequence so that you can finally get the answers you need. Claim yours by visiting www.flexdealer.com/website audit. That's www.flexdealer.com/website-audit.
If somebody is listening right now and they're in an adversity, the closer in proximity you are to adversity, the harder it is to see light at the end of the tunnel, if there is any, the less hope you have. So it's very difficult to get this concept when you're in that frame. And basically what you need at that time is you just need to understand there's hope. And as if it doesn't kill you, you're going to get through it. So just know that, keep pushing. And I have a saying, thrust is a must. You have to thrust forward and fast. And that's something that reminds me always that when I'm going through that tough time or that just let's go, move. So first of all, when you're in that close proximity, get hope. If you're trying to help someone, don't try to teach them the rocket fuel law, which I'll explain to you in a second. Don't try to teach them that. Just give them some hope. Get them moving. Now, if you're not in an adversity, the thing you need to understand in life, the things that stop us from accomplishing things and having the life of our dreams is not the encouraging people. It's not the wins that we have. And it's not, all the good stuff. It's all the bad, toxic stuff, discouraging people, setbacks, letdowns, screw ups of our own. And if we just imagine if there was a way to remove all that stuff and not just remove it, because I don't think that's good enough, actually taking it and storing it in your fuel tank instead of your trunk where it weighs you down and converting it into rocket fuel for your future, it not just gets you through to where you want to go, but it gets you there faster. And so Grant and I had a conversation on my podcast about what would it take. He's always trying to make it. When will I make it? When will I make it?
Right.
And I look at that as getting into outer space away from gravitational pull, right? That's making it to me, like getting away from, so nothing gravitational, no suppressors can actually pull you back. You're too strong for that. And I asked him that question, what will it take to get into outer space away from gravity? And, the conversation basically went, he said that nobody's ready for that answer. Nobody really wants to discuss that. Nobody likes to answer that
That's
question.
what he always says. He's
right?
so humble. He doesn't think people want to hear what's going on in his brain.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, started thinking to myself, well, rocket fuel gets you there. Because if you could take all that negative toxicity, which rocket fuel is, it doesn't taste good, I'm sure. I haven't tasted it. It doesn't smell good. It probably burn your hand if you touched it, just like all this negative stuff that we deal with in our lives. But if you could somehow convert it into pushing you forward and thrusting you into outer space, that's what it's all about. So, let me give you a little context on this. So the first far back as I can remember that I used an incident and converted it into rocket fuel was when I was a young kid. I grew up in a broken home. I don't remember my parents together. And I would do the every other weekend thing like most people that had split up parents. And most cases, you're the only link between your mom and dad for them to have to communicate. And as they move on to other marriages, step parents and all that, then add those agendas into the mix. There's a lot of conflict that starts to happen. And, I dealt with this. When I was 8, my mom decided to get married for the third time. And I decided to not go into another man's house and learn another man's rules. I decided to try my dad's house. And he was on to his second marriage. And so the first point of that, the first part was okay. But then as I got into it, there was more conflict that was brewing up between my mom, my stepmom, my dad. All this stuff was going on. And it was pouring down on us kids. And a lot of it was taken out on me. So I dealt with a lot of emotional, psychological abuse, threats. I used to sleep with a baseball bat a lot of nights when I was about 9 years old, just because I was scared and didn't have that security feeling. I didn't have that secure feeling. Mm-hmm. I still deal with a little bit of this today. This it's kind of like an anxiety, but it's more like security. Like I'm always searching for security. So what I ended up doing was eventually I realized that this is not an ordinary situation. You kids shouldn't have to deal with this. So I told my mom about what was going on. And Mike, what's funny in an abusive situation, a lot of times you don't share being abused because you're afraid of, looking stupid and embarrassed because you let it happen. Mm-hmm. Also, maybe you just don't believe or think that people will believe you. Maybe you're just, dramatizing. Or the other one that's kind of funny is you're kind of worried and concerned about the abuser and what's going to happen to them. Some weird stuff that goes on through your head when you're in those situations. So anyway, my mom told me that she was going to file court papers, but I could not flip flop back and forth.
Right.
I had to stick to my guns because if she did that, she didn't want to be left hung out to dry if they talked me out of it. And she warned me that they would try. So I took that as being stubborn. You got to make sure you're stubborn, unyielding. It's my favorite word, by the way, unyielding. So my dad eventually got these court papers served to him after weeks and weeks would go by. And I came home one day from school and the tension in the room was just like packed. So, something was going on. I knew it. And my dad, who was my hero, had his own masonry business, brick, block, concrete, real successful. I always looked up to him for his hard worker he was. His hands were real rough and his forearms were real big. He was always tan.
It's like one of the three professions of us Italians, right?
That's right. And if you know anything about Masons and Italians, they don't carry a wallet. They carry a wad of $100 bills with a rubber band around it. And he used to flash it all the time. I thought it was cool. So when he got these papers and I came home from school, he sent me to my room and I waited for him to come back and confront me. And I was about a 10 and a half, I think, at the time. And when he confronted me, I was just sitting there waiting. Like, I had no idea what's going to happen, but it's going to be bad.
Right.
And he said, it says here you want to move in with your mom. I don't understand this. You have everything you need here. Your mom's poor. She's on to her third husband. There's men coming in and out, and just paint this picture, right?
Right.
And I just didn't even get into discussion with him. I remember my mom said, stick to your guns. I said, no, I made my mind up. He said, are you sure? I said, it doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, no, because he was kind of denying what was going on. I mean, there must be fights. I mean, it was bad.
Right. Yeah.
So he said, okay. So he takes that wad of $100 bills I just mentioned out, peels one off, crumples it up and throws it at me. It says, here, you're going to need this then when you're living on the streets with your mother one day. Now, hearing that, the stubbornness in me kicked in. And I'm like, you're not going to dictate my future. It's funny. I'm wearing a Control the Future shirt today. I like to control my future. I like to be in control and responsible of my future. And even at that young age, I just knew that wasn't going to need that money. But I will tell you, ever since that moment, that was a spark that was lit. For 30 some years, I was driving off of that force, driving off of that, converting into, there was a lot of rocket fuel in that moment. And anytime things get tough, I would use it to get me to the next level, get through it or what have you. So 2 years ago, I was going through a tough time in business and I had to do a little self-assessment and really self-check to figure out why in my life, no matter what happened to me, do I keep rising? Like, why does my graph still go up no matter what? Relationships, work, it doesn't matter. My own screw ups. I figured it out. The formula was I was taking all that stuff and doing what I told you, storing it in my tank where I could use it as fuel instead of my trunk where it would weigh me down. And I became unstoppable. And the awareness of that, once I became aware, is what was powerful. My graph started to shoot straight up instead of just gradual. That's why I had to write the book Rocket Fuel, to get it out to people, because I'm the type of person, when I find something that works, I'm like an evangelist about it.
Yeah.
So that's a little background and context on that.
I think it's tremendous. And you're right. Like, this is a total mindset thing. You mentioned the word unyielding. When did you grow an affinity for that word? Like, when did you finally articulate for yourself that is a word that you love, and what does it mean to you?
So I was always told that I was a hardhead and stubborn as a kid, and I thought that was a bad thing. And it would be told to me in anger most of the time by my stepmom or my dad. And now that I look back on it, I'm so proud of that damn word. And I looked up the definition one day of stubborn, and it says in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, perversely unyielding is the definition of stubborn. Now, that could be the wrong thing when it's on the wrong thing, right? But then I looked further, and I was reading a book by L. Ron Hubbard the other day, and it said a word, inexorable. And I'm like, what the heck does this mean? And I'm the kind of guy that looks up words, because my stepfather, who stepped in to be my dad when I was 11, George, who's since passed, he used to tell me, you need to read more. You need to read more. And I would stop books. I would quit books in the middle of the book or the quarter of the way through. I didn't know why. And he told me, he said, you're quitting the books because you don't understand the words you're reading. And I was like, what? So I would ask him, well, what's this word mean? He'd say, go look it up. And it wasn't a Google thing. It was dictionaries back in the day, actually, physical dictionaries, like encyclopedias, right?
Yeah.
So I would look up words, and then I started doing that as a kid, and I started reading more, and then I would be able to finish books because I understood what I was reading, and it was powerful. That was a powerful message. So I looked up this word, inexorable, inexorable, inexorable. And that word is unable to be stopped, unyielding. And I'm like, holy cow, that's my new word. Because stubborn sometimes, has a negative connotation. Right. Inexorable, people have no idea what the hell that means. So now they're going to go look it up and they're going to be like, wow, that's powerful. So be inexorable towards anything you want to accomplish in life. And I think that's the title of my next book I'm working on. Inexorable.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like stubborn, I've heard in my household several times.
Stubborn like a mule.
Growing up, yeah. Man, he's so hard-headed. What's the matter with this guy? All this kind of stuff. But I love that. Unstoppable. I wonder how often, though, like I think of my own past, my own, story, how easy it has been at times to stop me. And then reverse engineering who that version of me was to who I am today, because I like my mantra is don't wait, dominate, like go get it done, put your head down and fricking run through walls to make success happen for yourself.
Yeah.
Do you find though the correlation between being easily stoppable and being unstoppable is that we just maybe haven't gained clarity about where we want to go?
Yeah, I would say it has something to do with clarity. It has something to do with commitment, and it has something to do with consistency. 3 C words. That just so happens. C-ROC has 3 C words. Really when it comes down to that, you definitely need to be clear on what you want, because if you're not clear, then you have no idea what direction to go. Right. And by the way, clarity on where you're going. And most people miss this one, Michael. Most people miss clarity on where they currently are. You see, assessment leads to elevation. Assessment of where you are, which is your point A, so that you know how far you have to go to get to your point B.
Yeah.
If you don't know how that distance extends, you don't know what you're going to take to bridge that. So most people miss this. When your finances, your health, your relationships, you need to assess regularly those areas in your life that matter to really get clear and find out really where you are. So that would be the first thing, clarity. Commitment's the next thing. Most of the time people are stopped because they're not really committed. I was on an airplane over the weekend coming back from Scottsdale, and I was on the Wi-Fi, and I got a text that said my plane was going to be delayed. My next connection flight home was going to be delayed for 2 hours. And I already had 3 hour layover. So I was going to be 5 hours. And I thought to myself right away, take time out of the equation. All right, get on a rental car, drive from Philly to Salisbury, 2.5 hour drive. I'll be home before the plane takes off easily, save myself time. And so I made that move quickly, but my bag was on this plane, and I knew the bag was going to go on a connection to the next flight, and I need to get my bag. And I asked the flight attendant, how can I get my bag? He's like, nah, they don't do that. You're going to have to go to the airport and pick it up because they're going to take it to the next plane. I said, right. That's kind of funny, because I know if I was sick and there was medicine in that bag and I needed it, they would get that damn bag. Right. So I knew to myself, I'm running this through my head. And this is the commitment part, by the way. I'm painting the picture for commitment. I was committed to getting that bag. So I said to myself, and I told the lady next to me, I said, watch, I'm going to get that bag. Because her and I had been talking about inexorable, and I was talking about rocket fuel, and we had a conversation for a couple of hours prior to that.
Right.
And she laughed and she said, you're not going to lie, are you? I said, no, I don't need to lie. I just know that if I was sick and I needed medicine in that bag, they would get it. So there is a way to get it. So then I said, so watch me. And she was laughing. She's like, there's no way. American Airlines doesn't do that. They do, they have their policies. I said, well, listen, I'm different than most people. Now, I'm not going to be a jerk, by the way.
Yeah.
I just go and handle the situation, be committed to it to find the answer. So I go out there and I said, hey, I need to get my bag. I'm going to be sitting here 5 hours. I'm going to drive instead. I don't think we could do that, sir. I said, okay, well, let me see. You just said, I don't think we can do that. So that means that you probably could possibly do it. So let's figure out a way to get this done. And she made a call and we got the bag because I was committed. But if I would have listened to the first person and I wasn't committed, of course I would have been yielding instead of unyielding. So commitment, anytime you're not getting something you want, you got to check your commitment. And then from there, the next thing is what steps are you doing consistently enough to get to where you want to go? Consistency is the most boring thing in the world. Yeah, I agree with you. If anybody says, yeah, but I don't want to do that, it's boring. And while you're being consistent, you don't see the success you're having necessarily. Yeah. And so consistency, there's a formula. The consistency is greater than your emotions. Consistency matters more than your emotions. So when you don't feel like doing something, you got to be consistent anyway. When it's hard, doesn't matter. You got to do it anyway. And that is how you get 100% participation from yourself, because you know you're going to do it when it's easy and you know you're going to do it when you feel good. So just focus on the times you don't feel good. And when it's hard, making sure you get it done, and the consistency will take care of itself. And then before you know it, you look back and you don't even recognize yourself and how far you've come.
Yeah. This is amazing. And I love, especially earlier, you said, I'm going to remove time from the equation. Do you think that's a hang up for people, that they just are so focused on time? How can I be like C-ROC, Cardone? How can I get what they have right now? Not realizing that Grant's 62, 63. Mm-hmm. And his story, he's told 18 zillion times, starting at 25, coming off drug addiction, all this kind of, like, it required time, and he was consistent, he was committed, and he was clear on where he wanted to be going. How do you convey appropriately the importance of removing time from the equation so that you can stay committed and focused on being, boringly consistent?
Yeah, well, and by the way, it's not boring once you hit the target.
Yeah, so, of course, right.
But and by the way, the target's got to be something that you're so damn excited about that it makes you like, you feel my energy right now. I hope you feel my energy through this.
100%.
And before I go into further other part of that, I want to explain one thing to you. I don't care what people think of me, and neither should you. Not you, Michael, but anybody that's listening,
right?
You included. But you should care about how people experience you. Right. So when I come on a podcast today, my intention is to have you experience me in a certain way that when you hang up this Zoom call, you push whatever to end it, you're like, damn, dude, holy cow, man, I need to go take a break or something, man. That dude's got he's hit me. Right. That's what I'm concerned with. And that's what everybody should be paying attention to, not what people think of them. Mm-hmm. So getting back to the time thing, to me, I want to make sure that, it took me a little while to figure all this out. Right. And I turned 40 something. And I was like, shit, man, I wasted all this time in my life. Like, I need to move fast now. I have a window that's shrinking. I don't know how big that window is, but I know that I need to accomplish what I want to accomplish is in a quicker time. And I realized that when I was scared, the more time I let pass, the more scared I got. Right. And so I started trying something. I started trying just doing things as soon as I think of it. Do it. And then, like Ben Stiller and Starsky and Hutch, do it. Come on, do it. I just started doing that, and I realized, holy shit, man, I'm not scared of anything anymore. I don't fear anything. Yeah. I climbed up a mountain in Scottsdale. It was scary as shit looking. It was high. It was ragged, jagged. The people looked like ants when I looked at them. But you know what? I said, you know what? Let's go. Let's move. Let's get started. Yeah. And just keep going. One step at a time. Just go. And before you know it, we're at the top summit, taking pictures, panoramic. Felt like it was very exhilarating. But yeah, it's just an example of how fear is fueled by time.
I'm Michael Ciorocco, and you've been listening to the Dealer Playbook podcast. If you haven't yet, please click the subscribe button wherever you're listening right now. Leave a rating or review and share it with a colleague. If you're ready to make big changes in your life and career and want to connect with positive, nurturing automotive professionals, join my exclusive DPB Pro community on Facebook. That's where we share information, ideas, and content that isn't shared anywhere else. I can't wait to meet you there. Thanks for listening.